Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia. From education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jha.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Between the Headlines on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jha, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Between the Headlines, we're going to be discussing moving Liberia forward. It is becoming increasingly clearer that our country is not moving forward. Things are not as expected. And we can no longer use the excuse of we get from war, because other countries went through the same thing and they are doing little better. So we first want to look at what's really wrong. What is it that we are grappling with, and how can we move the country forward? Politics now dominate every aspect of our life. If you on social media today, it's all politics or what we call the G's and the fries. And those are the things people are listening to, and our country continues to be stagnated. You can talk to anybody. Most people, even what people are doing now, education-wise and everything else, things are not what they used to be. What's wrong, and how can we move Liberia forward? Let me welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman to discuss this. Welcome, Jimmy.
It's a pleasure being here. Very, very important topic. Where are we going? Thank you for inviting me.
Let me also welcome the host of the Hour of Politics, who's going to be discussing this, Mr. Anthony Manasseh. Welcome, sir.
Dennis, it's good to be here. What a very important topic. Moving Liberia forward. Isn't what we all want to see? Is this the first time we're trying to think about that? I think people have been thinking about it, but it has not happened. When do we make that happen? Let's talk about that.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Dr. Clarence Pearson. He's the author and the new progressive commentator. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. I've been away for a while now due to other pressing engagements, but it's good to be back. And I want to say hi to my esteemed panelists And to those who are watching us by way of the internet and your TV, we want to say good to be back with you tonight.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. Abdul Bwaka Dukle. He's joining us from Canada. Mr. Dukle, if you can move your body up a little bit. I'm a fan of.
Either that, you or tilt the screen toward you if you're on a laptop.
That's a little better. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello to fellow panelists.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If you have not already done so, please share the show and let's talk Liberia. Right? Let's talk about our country, Liberia. How do we move Liberia forward? How do we make things better? But let me start with the basics. You know, I don't know if any of you agree with me that the country is thriving and we are where we're supposed to be. I don't think that's the case. What do you think is wrong with the country? And what are the things that you are not satisfied with? What are the things that you think can be done better? So as a way of your intro, tell me what's wrong with Liberia and why we need things to change. Let me start with Dr. Pearson.
Thank you, Venice, and thank you for having me. Liberia right now, where it stands, is a kind of disappointing. To answer your question quite clearly, is that we are not where we want to be. And the foremost reason for that is that people have the priorities mixed up. I think that we can do better. I think that if we do not circumvent our constitution and do not take shortcuts to governance and try to subjugate the rule of law in the country, and be honest with ourselves as to what our strengths and our limitations are, functioning within the boundaries of our separation of powers, the three branches of government, and being honest to the Liberian people, are the only things that can take our country forward. If we tend to undermine the rule of law and work contrary to other things I just listed, we will definitely find ourselves where we are. I think we've gone beyond campaigning. We're now at the stage of governance. And if we continue to be in the campaign mode, we will focus more on trying to play politics than to actually govern. And then the bread and butter issue of our people and the hardship that we see across the country right now, assistance to me right now has quadrupled since Brokaw ascended to the power. And I think this is sad for our country going into the season. There's no momentum yet, as we normally would see across Liberia. So all of these things are holding us back, and we seem not to have leaders who can see that we are not moving forward. And that's sad.
Thank you. Mr. Dukle, what is wrong with Liberia today?
Well, Dennis, thank you for that question. I think that question is a very loaded one, a question that one needs to look at it comprehensively and put the totality of our unfortunate situation into perspective. My personal perspective is that we missed the mark in our first attempt when hostility was brought to an end. There was no more fighting, and the inception of Ellen Johnson's self-government was a golden opportunity that we had to start on a good footing moving forward. But unfortunately, the basis that were laid out from then is what we are continuing on today, which is bad governance. Because of our past experience with the 14 years, that should have been a basis from which we can deal with, and by dealing with, I mean to enshrine some of those misdeeds that led us to where we were, to enshrine it in our constitution. And by that, I mean specifically, how do we curb corruption? Because most of the thing that is driving bad governance in our country is corruption. And
so you when say I what say is wrong with Liberia is bad governance.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Bad governance is what is wrong with Liberia. Until we can get the governance right, nothing else is going to go right. And like I was just citing some examples where we should have enshrined in our country.
Why?
Pardon me?
Why is bad governance the problem?
Because with the right kind of governance,
Mhm.
our priorities can be put in line with the needs of the masses. With good governance, the priority of the people will become the priority of the government instead of the other way around. But
Thank you.
what we've seen, Dennis, since the new republic, we have not seen governance that is about the people and for the people. Until we can get the governance right, nothing else is going to be right, Dennis.
Hmm. Uh, uh, Mr. C, what
Yes.
makes what makes governance bad? And you can start from there before you continue to tell me what is wrong with Liberia.
Well, Dennis, I would rather start with what is wrong with Liberia.
Okay.
I think that should be uh, the foundation, for lack of better word, for why we are where we are. And you use the word stagnated, and that is true. In every shape and form, our country is stagnated. So the key thing that is wrong with Liberia is lack of leadership. And we know that there are several things that are wrong with our country. Several things we can look at. Economic dependency is a problem. We are not economically dependent. We can talk about infrastructural deficiency. We know that. But the key, in my judgment, is the lack of leadership. If we have leadership, that leadership will find a way for us to get economically independent. That leadership will find a way to ensure that we improve our infrastructure. That leadership will find a way to improve our education, healthcare. So the key there is leadership. And we've seen that in other countries, right? Because of leadership, other countries are improving their infrastructures, improving education, improving the provision of basic social services. Leadership. And that leadership includes that when funds are generated or revenue generated, those revenues are used for internal purpose. And if anyone deviate by siphoning any of those resources, that person is held accountable and prosecuted according to the full weight of the law. It is leadership that will ensure that one does that. So many things wrong with our country, but I would tell you, if we can name one thing, all right, that is lacking, for which these problems have diversified in so many areas, is because of leadership. Let me give you a simple example.
Yeah, but before you give that example, what is causing that? I'm trying to do my root cause analysis now. You said it's due to bad leadership. Why? What is responsible for bad leadership?
Thank you, and I like that. I'm happy that you asked the question, because
I'm
that
good
will
for this
give
job.
me the opportunity to tell you why we have bad leadership. We have bad leadership because someone may argue people are not nationalistic. We have bad leadership because people do not take their responsibilities serious. We have bad leadership because people are self-centered. We have bad leadership because of greed. Take, for example, how come someone becomes president in a very poor country and that person feels that they need a bulletproof car when no one is after that person's life? What is making that person to think that it is a good decision? What is making a lawmaker to feel that every 3 years he needs a $45,000 brand new car, when the teacher does not even have any provision for transportation? What is making that lawmaker to feel that they're entitled? Even the executive branch of government that drafts the budget, what is even making that executive branch of government to feel that the president needs a $8 million budget to run a small office that is right within the executive mansion? Greed, self-centeredness, all right? Lack of empathy for the ordinary man. So people, when they come to power, they completely, they can lose it. Where the focus should be. What is their responsibility? Am I here to improve the human and material condition? Am I here to improve basic social services? Am I here to change the life of somebody in West Point, in Negro Town? Am I here to ensure that there is a good classroom in Riverside? Do they ask themselves this question, or when they sit in that car under that air condition, they come to realize that Liberia problem is over because now they are in a comfortable place? I think that's where the problem is, Dennis.
And if you were, I like how you listed those things, and let me spend one more minute with you, because I want to push you, because I know the stuff you're made of, right? You said bad leadership is because of greed. It's because people are self-centered. Then I would say, what caused them to be greedy? What caused them to be self-centered? So you see how deep we are going? So keep going deeper.
Dennis, and I'm the guy for you. Why is somebody greedy? Where is that greed coming from?
Right.
And
who taught them to be greedy?
Who caused them to be, or what is causing them to be greedy? And this is a tough question, I must
Right.
admit.
So hold it there. Let me go to Jimmy, because I don't want you to run out of breath. Jimmy,
no, I'm not going to run out of breath. I'm going to give you an answer, but let me allow Jimmy to come
hold it there. I will come back to you before Jimmy. Jimmy, what's wrong with Liberia? You see, Anthony was on the way, but I stopped him so that I could get you to talk.
Okay, I'm going to take a more broader approach.
Okay.
Africa as a whole is disaffected by few factors, and Liberia is no unique example. Even countries that have by far more resources than Liberia are not progressing for similar reasons. So we need, besides going to the specific hindrance we have, we need to look at the global hindrances that disaffects all of Africa. And you will find on the economic chain, we have been deemed as suppliers of raw material. That alone means we are not using various transformation of resources to enrich ourselves, to bring ourselves to a higher level of education or living. We're simply providing raw materials to the world. And purposely so. Because if we are not capable of developing our own resources, using, going through various stages of production, then we will be perpetually poor. That, coupled with the fact that we have people who don't have the wisdom, the wherewithal to see how we will emerge from such a position, to transfer us to a position where we are producers, they take the shortcut. And the shortcut is to find a way to enrich themselves. The shortcut is to find a way to sell each other. The shortcut is a way just simply to disregard laws and the development of our youth. And
so,
that is
Jimmy, how do we end up with these kind of people? Where we got them from? These people that are taking the
again,
shortcut.
if you're in a bubble, you will breathe the same air that everybody breathing in that bubble. In other words,
I like that.
The poverty that exists around us, the way the world is structured around us, we all face the same thing. So we have to break out of that. And breaking out of that will require a mindset, a philosophy, a motivation that people can aspire to and grasp onto, that will lift us out. So it's not uncommon what goes on for us. I was just talking to a Kenyan brother this evening, and he said we have the same problems, even though their budget, the national budget, is way higher than ours.
And that's the question I was going to. I mean, you said you're looking at it from a global perspective. right? But others are ahead of us, other maybe some behind. But so why do we find ourselves in this? Why aren't we affected the same way? Why are we the ones stuck in neutral?
Are we stuck in neutral? If you want to go specifically to Liberia, we need to employ right now. We need to employ a system, a philosophy, a way of doing things that will lift us, at least get us back toward production.
What does that mean?
We're not looking at that right now.
So what does that mean to employ a system? Is it a government policy? Is it a classroom lesson?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Like, for instance, let's look at the agenda. Let's be very specific. Let's look at the arrest agenda of the Boakai administration. The arrest agenda cannot get us anywhere. If you're not investing in your people, if your formal budget is not to bring out education, to produce people who can think and industrialize the country, you're not going anywhere. So in other words, here we have an agenda that will not promote emerging from this state of poverty. So we have to have a winning philosophy, a winning system that will get us out of this. And if we're only going to be repeating things of the past, if we're only going to be satisfying salaries and giving some people money for their generators, fabulous salaries, rentage, and neglecting our schools and our children who will be there tomorrow, we will be here for perpetually.
Thank you. Anthony, guess who's on your tail? Sam Wallow said, be ready for the. So I want you to, because I'm going to ask you the why 5 times, but let me go to Dr. Pearson first. Dr. Pearson, you try to lay things at the feet of Boakai as if what's wrong with Liberia started after the 2023 election.
Yes, Dennis. There are certain things that we need to get very clear, and then that gives us the premise on which Boakai bears the greater responsibility. And I say that to say that we do have the Constitution gives our presidency.
Dr. Pearson, things are okay until Boakai got there. Is that what you are alluding to?
No, until we have a good presidency, we'll always have a bad government. That's what I'm trying to say. And our Constitution is.
Did we have that before?
Say that again.
Did we have that before that Boakai came and just disrupted and changed it?
Oh, listen, when we blame Ellen for not achieving our expectations after the civil crisis, it was because she failed to exercise a presidency in the way we expected her. That's why the country went the way it went. When President Weah came in and also served, and then the country is said to be in a slum, it's because of the presidency. So President Boakai taking over also understands that the presidency of Liberia is a superior presidency. But I want to jump over that to the why. Now let me say this: I have this theory of the big three, and this theory of the big three is impunity, by-election results, and sycophancy. Impunity, by-elections results, and sycophancy. When I say impunity, since after our civil crisis, or since after we killed President Toibo, people have not been held accountable. In fact, what our 1986 Constitution does is that it provides impunity by constitutional provision for those who committed mayhem in the country. And up to this time, over 25 plus years, we have not revised that Constitution to remove the impunity that was given the PRC government and those who facilitated that government to cause the mayhem in the country. We've not removed it. And not only that, when we go to elections, we have a situation where people back their way to power. People give because of poverty, people gave our people a little here and a little there, a cup of rice and a few dollars, and truck them from one part of the country to another part of the country with impunity. And then we get by-elections results. And then to make matter worse, when these leaders come to power, what we see is that instead of citizens standing up to them and telling them, look, you're governing us wrong, we praise them, we heal them. Even in the recent situation in the House of Representatives says clearly what I'm talking about.
Okay. So let me stop you. You talk about impunity, you talk about bad election results, and you talk about sycophancy. Let's go to the second why. Why we have sycophancy? Why do we have impunity? Because even when 79 happened, I don't think the people responsible were held accountable. When 1980 happened, the people were not held accountable. Then we have the 14-year civil war, no accountability. So why?
No, you see, I wrote a paper before. I wrote a paper before, and an international researcher reached out to me and asked me if I could publish that paper in the magazine. And the article of that paper was the Elder Soup piece in Liberia. If you don't know, Dennis, we're one of the first graduates from the University of Liberia in peace and conflict studies. I just refused to work with alien government under former then President George Minor when he was peace ambassador, because I feel it was a political appointment. But when the thing about that piece of article that I wrote is that, it is only in Liberia that you see that people who perpetrated violence against innocent civilians and kill them are entrenched in power and in wealth. And they're being entrenched in power is being facilitated by the very wealth that they're exploiting from the people of Liberia. And we're still seeing that today.
Why?
All right, Joseph Newman Barker, let me give you one quick example.
No, tell me why. Why?
Administration.
I want to deal with the why.
It's impunity. That is the why. That is the root cause.
Why do we have impunity?
Because the people who are perpetrating the violence are the one in power. They are the
why is it? Why are they in power? How we got them in power?
Because our system is designed. Dennis, listen. Our system is designed in a way that those who have money can easily buy their way into power.
And how do we end up with that kind of system? Where did that system come from?
No, I don't think it will be injustice to try to define where that system comes from. The limitation of time, that's something we can all look into. But I think that's one of the root causes of our problem. And I wanted to say this, but you didn't give me a chance. Listen to when King George situation happened, when BM the guys, is it BM Mountain or something like that?
No, the reason I didn't get that point. I wanted to also go to the bottom.
The innocent civilians were killed in that situation in King George. What did the Liberian government do through President Boykai? The Justice Ministry went and gave the families handout instead of properly executing or investigating and prosecuting those responsible for the killings. When they killed the boy in rehab, the government again went again and induced the family with money, and they're not even investigate and prosecute those who committed that mayhem. So we are established since 1980. We are established on impunity to the extent that those who continue to hurt us are those who have hijacked power and have jacked wealth, so that when they declare the asset of the day, they are all millionaires.
Thank you. So, but you still didn't give me the why. Why you say is the system responsible, but what caused that system? How did that system come into being? That we end up with a system that is rewarding people that are hurting us.
There's a research that was done by one of my friends called Beth, and one of the things that they blame impunity on in Liberia, they said that the Accra Peace Accord that gave us the peace that we have now, instead of prosecuting those who perpetrated the war, that agreement gave power to the perpetrators. And since that time to now, the perpetrators have not left power. So
you blame me on the Accra Peace Conference?
It is a fact. It is a fact. It's a research fact.
Let me end with you on your why. You said greed. What's causing greed?
Too many things are responsible for greed. Dennis, there are psychological factors. I don't have any authority in there, so I will leave that part.
Mm-hmm. I do.
There are cultural factors,
okay,
and that I can talk about a little bit, and then also education and upbringing. And other things that we can talk about. So let's talk about upbringing a little bit. Family value.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And when I'm talking about education. Education is not necessarily the book education where we went and sat in class and took note. What training, what information that got passed down to us, instilling values and disciplines, teaching us what is right from wrong, what is good or bad, and how were we held accountable in our homes. If let's say one took something that they should not have taken, so you will tell me, you can better communicate that, look, when you were coming up at your time, we had a community that will hold the child accountable, and the child will not escape accountability. The community will hold you, that child, accountable if the child did wrong. Fast forward, we have conflict in our country. And so parents lost their agency, their authority to institute discipline and instill values. So we had a serious, breakdown of the society order in this sense, talking about values, all right? And so you saw children now playing the roles of parents who actually were not nurtured enough and grounded with the values, and how to carry on this mantra of accountability. And so we had a complete breakdown of, the societal order of accountability, value system, and so on and so forth. And so coming to this point, and then we went to conflict, and the conflict changed people. Some people who would not be able to kill a chicken now, and of forming warring factions. And if you put a warring faction together, of course, people will kill, and people became different. All right, people turned to their worst selves, and now the war ended, and there was no accountability. We saw some of the warring faction leaders now ending up in government because we're tested for peace. And the quote that, what's his name? Dr. He's passed now.
Dr. Sawyer,
where we have to trade something for what? For peace, something like that, he said. So we allow society now, Liberia in this example, now felt that, well, we need peace, and that's the most important thing we need now. So if Mr. Taylor will be president or Mr. Taylor will hold a leadership position, so be it, because we can't keep running. We can't keep tearing down. And so we ended up with perpetrators becoming our leaders, and so we could not hold them accountable because we have given them the authority to carry on accountability, and the only person they could hold accountable would be the unarmed person. And power at the top, when power at the top is not instituting accountability, then there's no way you're going to get accountability. Then there are so many factors we can look at, but that is what I can think of for now. So now greed became very, very pervasive, in a society, and people would just do anything and they will not be held accountable. And now you see self-centeredness and all that has taken over our society.
I was talking to somebody and they say, well, in those days, the culture of how to live right and all these things were learned in the villages, right? So that's why when people came from the villages, they came with so much moral. When they got to Monrovia, they were amazed how people were, loose. But when the war happened and those villages broke down, so we no longer have that place where we go to learn those values. That's what someone told me. Mr. Dukley, so you see exactly where I'm going with this, right? Yeah, so I don't want to say more. You come in, answer some of the whys, because you see where I'm going. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that, Dennis. Yes, I clearly see where you are headed with this. And there's really not a singular thing you can point to and say this. It's a host of lots of things that went wrong, and they were not corrected. They were not put in place. And so to actually break down the why, you have to look at the nation as a whole, from the inception of this republic to date. I always say this to friends and colleagues, that I believe that the foundation upon which our country was established is a fault, is a flaw foundation, and sometimes I use this just to express my frustration. But I still believe that have we gotten it right after the war, during President Saliu's time in office? If we had gotten it right, we would have continued to have it right even today.
What does
But because
right mean? What does
pardon
that
me?
mean to get it right? What would
Yeah,
get it
by right I mean to put into place the ills that got us into the war to begin with. Now, among those is corruption. Now, and I said some of these things could have been constituted in our constitution, where, for example, I'll give you a very practical example. We saw how overnight people became wealthy, and we knew that the wealth was not, it was an ill-gotten wealth. If we had it enshrined in the constitution where people should account for their wealth, especially when it happens in a way that is suspicion, legally speaking, I mean, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So if there was a constitutional provision under which the individual can account for their wealth, especially the wealth that they got overnight, then that would have become a reason where people will be deterred. Because if they can't explain how they get their wealth, even though we know that he or she got this wealth through some fraudulent means or through illegal means, then that will become a deterrent for people to say, you know what? If I can't explain how I got this wealth, I might not as well get into it. So that's just one example. The other example is to revamp our entire educational system, where some of the things that people were doing before the war came, so that people are aware and people are being told that there's consequences to our behavior. And that's why I keep saying, when you look at governance, if the priorities that were set out during President Saliu's time, if those priorities were priorities that were dealing with some of those ills, today the story would have been different. But unfortunately, despite the goodwill, despite all the funds that came into Liberia, it's almost like we were digressing instead of progressing. So my position is we still lack that leadership that can guide us to the place that we need to be. So Dennis, Anthony said, there is just so many reasons why we're where we are. So you cannot take a singular position and say because of this, because now.
So Mr. Dukley, I've
Yes.
heard people say, the very foundation was wrong. I don't know of any country that started a foundation so good, right? Foundation will always be like that, and then we build only, we fix things. America,
Yes.
the American foundation, I would say they started on genocide, right?
Yes.
So yeah, foundation can be bad, but people can get it right after some time. Wow,
That's right.
Getting it right.
But that's why I was telling you. I said we fail to recognize those ills that got us to war in the first place.
Why? Why did we fail?
Because we did not have our priorities straight. Because
why we didn't have our priorities straight?
Because we felt that with the goodwill of the international community, with all the funding that was coming in, we misplaced our priorities. Where we should have emphasized.
Why did we think the international community was some super gods that will just feed us until belly bust?
Again, personally, my view was because for some bizarre reason, everybody thought that Ellen Johnson was a messiah. This is a lady who has international reputation. She had worked for the World Bank, you name it. And I was not one of those, because Ellen was in it for herself. And we saw that. Despite she has some brilliant people around her, but Ellen later on succumbed to corruption. She later on,
Thank you.
clearly said that I can't win this corruption.
Let me go to our audience now. If you are watching, all of you know where I'm going with this. So let me hear your side, right? What is wrong with Liberia? How did we get here, right? And let me hear from Jimmy, and then we move forward to our next step now
Yeah.
to see where we go from here. Jimmy.
Yes, like Dennis, like I was saying, I'm looking at this from a global perspective. We cannot rely on commodities in order to exporting our iron ore, the timber, rubber. We have to be able to produce. We have to be able to take these materials and take them through various stages of production so we will be able to benefit more from it. Now, currently, what is hindering us from doing that? We have what they call a lack of infrastructure. Our poor road network, on the limited supply of electricity, inadequate healthcare and educational facilities, internet, and all of that. So we need these things to put these things in place so that we can industrialize, so that we can produce. But what is stopping us from putting these things in place? I like what Cholope said. Cholope said, it's the elephant meat mentality. Everybody just want to go there and cut their own. This thing's not rocket science, but we are not sacrificing. We are not putting our resources where they're supposed to be. Every government comes and they clone the same budget they had before. They are not putting the investment where it needs to go. So we are perpetually in this vicious cycle of poverty. So we can't get out until we make the proper investments that will lift us out of this. Anything else will not happen. You know, I don't want to come talk about leadership and moral codes. The idea is, if you're going to make money, all of us here in America, we know very well, if you're going to have some savings, you have to invest in your 401k. The 401k is a way of saving money and invest it. And at the end of your retirement, you'll have that money. But if you put nothing in there, you will have nothing. We are not putting our investment where it needs to go. And according to Chilpe, this is the elephant meat mentality. Everybody just want to cut their own and go, instead of investing the country resources where it will benefit everybody. You know, we can blame 1847 like Sam Waller likes to do. We can blame Samador. The fact is, why we're not doing that now? The same elephant meat mentality. That's why we are where we are.
So let me get your Mr. Sear, Clarence, and then Dukley. Your conclusion on what we started, the whys, and see how Jimmy ended. Let me get your conclusion on that, then we move to the next. And our viewers, please, and we'll open the phone lines very quickly. We want to hear your side. Why are we here? And how do we move forward?
Dennis, there are many reasons, but the simple answer is leadership. And leadership has not been exerted by our leaders in a true sense of leadership, with a vision to transform Liberia and improve services in our country. And I said to you, and the reason this has been so because of greed, selfishness, and so on. And so until our leaders can be the leaders they ought to be, because if you are a leader, you should have vision. All of us will credit our parents, the mother, the father, as the reason for who we have become today. That is the kind of leadership, at some point I saw my mother. We got her in the morning and go in the bushes to pick dry coconut, and she would make coconut oil, and she would sell that coconut oil. I saw her doing that, and I was in school. She wanted to see me succeed. Do we have leaders in our country who the way when a mother gets up is thinking about, how can my child get to school? I just from Liberia, I see mothers selling in the streets in the middle of cars. They're trying to find money to get their child in school. Do we have any Liberian leader Who has that mentality? I want to see that
Mr.
child in Grand Crew. No, then don't interrupt me. I want to see
Yeah,
that
yeah,
child
no,
in Grand Crew.
because the leadership you're talking about, I want to see where you go with it, because the leaders, we put them there. They didn't get there by, by magic.
And then we put them there with the expectation that they will deliver.
But what did we see from there before we putting them there, right? You go not to Bob, you go to a man who already have 7 children by 7 mothers.
Mm-hmm.
You go marry the man, you expect what? So what did we see from that leader before we put them there? It's like Peter Lomoma said, you buy keke, then you want for it to perform
and Dennis, I am someone who shared that same line of thinking. How did we end up with these people that we call leaders? And those who listen to me know that I have absolutely no respect for weak-minded leaders, because they are dangerous. These are the people who are actually killing the society. And I know at some point I was talking to someone, well, Anthony is so harsh. What do you call harsh? Have you gone to West Point to see a child sitting by that dirty water, picking something in the trash to eat? And you see somebody who is a president sitting in an office, getting in an air-conditioned car, bulletproof, about $1.5 million to get 2 cars on it, and you're telling me I'm harsh? Does he actually understand why he's president for the country? Does he understand? So Dennis, let me tell you, our people, why are you electing this person? What did you see in the person? Sometimes these voters, some of them don't know better. Tell me now, a child who went through the Civil War as a child soldier and ended up being a Zogo, what understanding does that child or that young person has to say this is a better leader? They don't know who can be a better leader because of their circumstances, their experiences. They don't know. So if they choose somebody, because these leaders that we have today, they put themselves forth. Didn't President Baka say, I want to be president? Didn't Ellen Johnson Sirleaf say that? Didn't we say that? Because they try to impress on us that they will do better. So the people say, okay, if you say you can do better, we'll give you the opportunity to change our lives. And they fail because they have no vision and they don't have the fortitude to follow through on the things they want to do for our people. They are narrow-minded and they are not robust in transformative leadership. And so that's where we are, Dennis.
Thank you. A minute, Clarence, and then Dukley.
Look, Dennis, there are certain principles that I have when it comes to politics. I don't blame the voters for leaders' mistakes, because the leaders who go to the voters to be elected convince them that they are capable of doing the job. So the leaders bear full responsibility for their performance. I don't blame it on the voters. Second, I want to make this emphatically clear. When Ghana made a turnaround, when Kenya made a turnaround, when Rwanda made a turnaround, when China made a turnaround, when Japan made a turnaround, when Indonesia made a turnaround, when even the South Africa made a turnaround, it all rested on a leader who came in and made a major difference. And every time people go to election and they promise the Liberian people change and fail to provide that change, I feel it's hypocritical. It is wrong. Like they told us a few days, we should manage our expectations. No, you need to deliver on your promise to the people of Liberia. And I cannot excuse Boyka, President Boyka, on the fact that people voted him wrongly. I will hold President Boyka responsible for his performance. And that's where I stand.
Is President Boyka alone?
Dennis, your political system is designed where we have a superior presidency. Liberia won the way it won under Ellen.
We talk about this imperial presidency, but it's not.
Liberia won the way it went under.
Hold on 1 second. When you swear to uphold, the constitution of the office you are being sworn to, what is it about imperial presidency? What is imperial presidency about someone who is a lawmaker not taking bribe to do X, Y, Z? So where is this?
The lawmakers,
justice. Where is the imperial
the
president?
lawmakers, Dennis,
The minister, why are you signing? Why are you having ghost payroll and getting and sleeping with girls in your office? What's imperial about that?
Good question, Dennis, and I'll answer you. The bribery allegation in the House of Representatives have dragged on for over 2 months. The LSCC have not made any comment on its investigation. The LSCC is under the
imperial president.
No, wait. The LSCC is under the jurisdiction of the executive branch of government.
Right.
The Minister of Justice misrepresented the Supreme Court opinion. The Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Justice
doesn't have integrity.
The Republic of Liberia. That's our problem. That is our fundamental problem. So we're not going to go anywhere if the president continues to circumvent the rule of law and the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, and we're hoping that we're going to make something different. It's not going to work. Mr. Tukle, I'll pass it on to you.
Look, gentlemen, Clarence, I get the point you're making, right? And I'm all for holding the president accountable. I think the president bears the greater responsibility for the woes that we are experiencing now, the lack of leadership in the country, complete breakdown of seriousness in the country. I hold the president squarely responsible. All of his lieutenants in government, he appointed them. All right, these incompetent people that he appointed, he's responsible for that. How you appoint a man in my Jabate to be in charge of urban development? What does he know about city planning? If the president appointed me for that job, I would tell the president, no, I don't know anything about that. I don't want it. You know.
No, but Mr. CA, that's the same way he appointed Kofi Woos, the one who was the ICOM, the Justice and Peace, and he's sitting right there advising the president of national security. There's a company that came, they said we can give scholarship to. So it's the same person who appointed that person. What are they doing?
And then that's the point. That's the point I was coming to, right? That is the point I was coming to. We can blame the president all we want, and rightfully so. But when the president gives you a responsibility, that Pearson was talking about the LSCC, make me head of LSCC. I am not going to take instruction from the president to do my work because that institution was established by an out-of-national legislator. My duties and responsibility are spelled out. Let the president come and tell me, no, you can't do this. I'll say, well, yes, they are. They say I can do it. If you're going to stop me, then fire me. Why are Liberians not taking their responsibility serious? All right. I don't think the president is all over the place telling people not to do their job. As we speak, the year is at the end. We will not get yearly report from all of our government agencies. Maybe 1 or 2 will submit their year-end report. Maybe 1 or 2. The rest, they won't do it. There are people today who have not declared their access to the full knowledge of the president. Number one, he's not acting. Though individuals knew the law says before taking office, you must declare your access. They have not done so. Why should any of them be waiting for the president to tell them to do so? Even though he must, but why should you allow the president to come to you to tell you when you know this is your responsibility? So, I mean, it's the fact that people are not taking their responsibility serious. And the reason is they take the country for a joke. They don't know the importance of this country. They don't know that this country means so much to all of us collectively, and individually they have a responsibility to the country if they want to be Liberian citizens. I think that's what it is.
Teachers in classroom collecting offering before student party. You said the president, Dukley. Let me hear from you.
And, you know, we are going to say this over and over again. The sad reality is we need to change course, and we need to change course from the very bottom before we can see our way. You see, all these things, people that are interested in serving government today, you can see from their performances, they are in it because of what they can get for themselves. People go to government public service because they like serving the public. They like to serve the masses. It's the complete opposite in Liberia. And with this, you know, we have come to normalize all these things as the way of doing things, and at the expense of Mama Liberia. Since when do we have people go to work 2-3 months, 4 months, 5 months with no salary, with no pay. Meanwhile, they do have their family to look after. They have their own responsibility to take care of. So it was going to be helpful had we consider what had happened since the war ended. Okay, now that we want to move forward, maybe it's about time we consider making some amendments to our constitution so that our present reality, post-war Liberia, must be reflected. It must be reflected in our constitution moving forward. Maybe that would have helped us to see the way forward. But nothing like that was done. National reconciliation, like a national convention, where some of these things would have been flushed out by people who we think can help us lead the way forward. You see, Dennis, I don't think it would be fair to blame anything on the Liberian electorate. It would be so unfair to them. People come to them during the election and they say all kinds of things. They make all kinds of promises, but it is to them to live up to those promises. It is to them to see to it that what they have promised, they must see it through. But then you can't say because you I mean, personally, I say to people, the fact that we had George Weah as a presidential candidate speaks to the time we are living in, where people would take someone who is a soccer player because of his popularity as a football player. You convince the people that he can be a good player, he can be a good politician. There was a track record. This gentleman was in the Senate or in the House of Representatives, whatever he was. He did not do absolutely nothing there for you to use that as a roadmap, as a way to say, oh, he did this in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. Maybe if you get a presidency, he would do even better. Nothing like that. Simply because he was just a popular soccer player, people liked him as a soccer player. So when you have the right kind of person governing, these are the things that will be priority for the people.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to do X, Y, Z. And then, so that it doesn't matter who is in power, they would just, because we have not established continuum in our governing system. Everyone comes is someone that is starting from scratch, because we should have set that record. We should have established that from the get-go when Madam Selig was in power. But unfortunately, we missed that.
Thank you. So now we are where we are. We know that things are not okay. You talk to people in Liberia. In fact, PHONE, phone. They can say phone, my phone. I say, but where the M coming from? Yeah, things are just not where the. So we talk about what's wrong. So how can we correct it? How do we move Liberia forward? When I was preparing for this show, I was gathering some views. Someone said, what you want to see, you have to teach it, right? So the ethics, the integrity, and all these things, we have to teach them. Build them in our curriculum from K through 12. That's what somebody told me. So they say, teach ethics, teach anti-corruption. If we think tribalism is wrong, teach anti-tribalism. When stealing is wrong, teach it. People learn from what they are taught. You can, these things, they are not, another person say, well, the reason we are like this is because we are not adhering to the rule of law. As long as we adhere to the rule of law, punish the bad people, do X, Y, Z, the country will be okay. That's what's wrong with us. Another person said, we are not patriotic. We don't love Liberia. We are not patriotic. So that's why you take trash, you dump it in the street, because we don't. If you love your country, you're not going to commit crimes against your country. You're not going to overthrow the government. You're not going to do mutiny. You're not going to do X, Y, Z. Other people told me, say, we don't have a system. We have to set up a system. The foundation makes everything. When the foundation is wrong, everything you build on is going to falter.
Yeah.
These are the things that I gather. And if you are watching us, I want you to. So let's go around the room. Jimmy, how do we move the country forward?
Thank you.
Is it possible? Because I don't want you to.
No, it is very possible. I mean, first of all, you have to identify what you need to do. Okay? We've identified we need to produce. We need to be able to produce. Okay, we cannot continue with this raw material export and commodity export. We have to be able to produce things ourselves. Okay, so since we have to produce, what are the factors of production? Okay, what do you need to produce? You need infrastructure, you need electricity, you need road structure. Those are the things you need. Okay, you also need to educate the people, to give them the skills requisite to be able to industrialize, to be able to start producing. Those are the things you need. All right. So since we know what we need, now we know what we need to do. We know what the inputs are. Why are we not doing that? Because you have to appropriate the budget. You have to put your investment, your majority of budget has to go toward this. But we're not doing that. And I don't know why people always making this, blaming the past when you can do something in the present. And that's another thing that we get wrong. If you can do something different today, okay, my mother and my father never went to school, but I can go to school and I take advantage of the opportunity. I can change the livelihood, the future of my children. But why are we stuck on blaming the past? Let's take our resources that we have here, available. Let's make use of it, and we can determine a bright future for our people, our kids, our posterity. So we know what we need, we know what needs to do, but we have to make a sacrifice, and that means you will not get that lavish living. You will not be able to ride around with a luxury car every 3 years. You will not do it. That's what is required. It requires us at some point. People have to sacrifice for their country. And if we're not willing to sacrifice, then we're not willing to change our trajectory, because sacrifice is necessary. Anybody can tell you. And lastly, a lot of people blame the population for who they vote for. I want to tell you something. The people who started this democracy in France and Jefferson talked a lot about it. You have to have an educated population if you're going to have a democracy. They have to know what is going on. They have to be exposed. Okay? So a lot of people take advantage of democracies by keeping the people in the dark, keeping them unexposed, keeping them uneducated, because it's easier to manipulate people who don't have critical thinking, like Anthony Sear here. Anthony Sear has very critical thinking. And then one of those guys come to him and tell him he want to do this. He said, "Ooh, you come in front of me?" He will assess it. But do our people have that wherewithal to be able to judge a politician when he's in front of them? No. And Jefferson talked about this. You have to have a very exposed, enlightened voting populace. So are you going to blame the people? No. You have to enlighten them. And until we do, we will always, the politician will always manipulate the voting people, because they know how to do it. They're used to it. And that's what's going to be happening.
Thank you, Mr. Sear. I see post that I see is we are looking for a way out is to find a Messiah. I see people put one post I was looking at, they have Josh Weah, they have Tiawan Gongolo, and then they have Boaka, and say, who will deliver us? We need this Messiah. Is that how we move the country forward? If we get somebody like a Christ-like figure?
Dennis, I would disappoint you to say, unfortunately, yes. We cannot, and give me a chance. I know this is debatable. Mm-hmm. Yes, we can use those words interchangeably. Someone may say Messiah, but my emphasis here is we need a leader. To some people, that person might be a Messiah. To some people, that person may be a hero. Do you know why in Liberia people looking for a hero? Anytime something happens, they lift someone up? The country is in search for someone to lead us to where we need to go. So the Democrats said, Jimmy, we're talking about, why do we even have Parliament, House of Representatives, where few individuals are selected to represent a district or so? Because we all can lead. So yes, Dennis, that is the answer. We need a leader that leader who will pull a team together that he can work with, collectively to develop our country. And if we don't find a leader, if we think that, oh, Jimmy going to be in Monserrato, I'm going to be in Grand Cru, I'll be doing things just the way I want it, without a vision, being driven by that leader with a purpose, then it's not going to happen. So the simple answer is here. Now, let's look at Rwanda. It's not bread and butter, but they have a leader, Paul Kagame, who have been leading that country, and now they are doing well economically. They have jobs. They have factories there. There is a leader. Before him, I don't know whether they had any transformative kind of development going on in that country. We can talk about other countries. Some people always talk about Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore. He was a leader who came, all right, and brought others along, and he had a vision, and he knew what he wanted to do, and so people joined him, and he led them, and now he transformed the country. They think the same can be said about the Japanese. There was a leader who took up leadership and said, no, we have to do this. So Dennis, sadly, I don't like the word Messiah, Savior, and hero, but we need a leader. If someone would say that person is a hero, yes. If someone actually help us to raise the funds to pave our roads, who will provide that leadership. To some people, you think why people had a statue of George Weah in Doe community? The people needed a little road that they could walk on safely, and we have built them one mirror and a big statue. You can't blame them. So
Thank you.
We need a leader, we need a savior, we need a Messiah that will provide leadership to lead our country.
Mr. Dukley, how do we move this country forward?
Well, we need to do some fundamental changes to begin with our educational system. We need to revamp our educational system where all the virtues that we wish to see will be instilled in children. And then from there, we'll be able to get the right kind of leaders. We begin with revamping our educational system, because I believe by transforming our educational system, a lot can be done there. So that's where I would start.
Dr. Pearson.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the point where I say that we need leadership, but I don't trust the Bouaka administration, because for me, Bouaka is a pen. And like I normally would say, no matter how you're driving, you will never become a forerunner. Never.
And so start talking about this pen. This old man here, and I will join, sorry for interrupting. The old man here doesn't have it.
No,
that's why I don't waste my time. The only time I spent more time talking about Bouaka, that was before the election, to warn people what was coming, but they didn't listen. So this is commentary after the match, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
Yeah. So but again, just for the purpose of this show and for our audience, I will support you, Dennis, when you say we need education, we need rule of law, we need patriotism. But let me give you this fact, right? There are people who are well educated abroad, right? Like some of us, and you take us, you carry us back into Liberia, we perform worse than the people who are already there. But we have all the discipline here. We have all of the ethics here. We've learned so much how to behave ourselves here under the watchful eyes of the country in which we live. You carry us back to Liberia, we become a different creature altogether. I don't know why. And this is where I come back to impunity. People feel they can do anything in our country and get away with it. They can steal, they can kill, they can insult people, and they do whatever they want to do and get. Look at our lawmakers. Look at our justice minister. Look at our public work ministers. Look at the LWSC minister with all the good work Mo Ali is doing. How did Mo Ali become the spokesperson for the government of Joseph Iman Bouaka, serving the place of information ministry on Spoon FM? When did he become the water and sewer managing director, became information minister on Spoon Network? When? And we feel it's okay that our country should be lawless. We feel it's okay that Dr. Pearson go to Liberia today, be made minister, and out of within a split second, he's still millions.
So Dr. Pearson,
and he comes back to the United States and buy houses, and we say it's okay.
Dr. Pearson, you mentioned Bwaka a couple of times. If we change Bwaka today, will our issue be resolved?
All right,
absolutely not.
So
okay, let me even take you a step further. If we change Bwaka today,
Dennis, that question is premised on the fact that leadership is not just about changing people. Leadership is about people who are designed either by their education or by their upbringing or by some innate
so the issue is not
characteristics to lead properly. And then I go by the what Anthony C. said. Look at Rwanda. Look at Uganda. Look at Kenya. Look at Singapore. When you have leaders with the requisite skills, and that's why I supported Mr. Alexander Cummings, and I think it was either Mr. Dukley or Mr. Sierra said, you got to look at people's track record. You got to look at what they've achieved in leadership before you give them added responsibility. You know, but we've had people who just get elected because they are able to truck people from one county to another county. We have people who are elected based on ethnic politics. We got people who are elected based upon buying people food. We got people who get appointed because of party affiliation, or because they are family members, or because they are relatives, or we got people who got appointed because they have the money to buy the position. They are not being elected or appointed based on merit. This is bad for our country. I do not have the magic wine before I turn it over to Anthony C. I do not have the magic wine to say, I'm looking at Anthony C.'s face right now as a soothsayer. When we're making president tomorrow, all will go well. But I can say we can follow Anthony C.'s track record of his performance in past positions he even had. You know, and then we make a determination as to who is best for our country. And that's why I supported Alexander Cummings. There's gone election, but the Liberian people rejected him, and they had a reason. I would not fault them for that. Anthony.
Thank you. And let me come to you, Mr. Dukley. You are talking about we got to put into place system. You're talking about education and so on and so forth. I agree. You need leadership to do those things. The countries, the Western countries, we're talking about some African countries, gradually getting their acts together. Even people in the Middle East, the Arabs, who have gotten it together, that leadership. And so when you hear me emphasizing leadership, I don't want to waste my time say, well, it is leadership that will build a system. It's a leader who has a vision, say, well, how do I transform my country? I want an education system that serves my country well. A system that produces the best minds so that these people can be able to serve my country well. That leadership talking there. You know, so, and leadership goes beyond that. Building it is one thing, maintaining it is another thing. That is also leadership. That's why we're seeing in some African countries. I watched a video the other day, Botswana now, I think universities are freed in Botswana. People are learning. That should be, that's leadership. And those schools.
Let me ask something that Anthony. Not only that university is free, but they also gave them stipend while they are going to university.
Exactly.
So they're incentivizing the education, so that you see, and this is you cannot talk about leadership void of governance, Anthony, because these two things
is governance, you know.
Yes, I totally agree with what you are saying. The biggest problem is leadership, because if you have a leader who is visionary, if you have a leader who is thinking beyond the next 10, 15, 20 years, and he or she put in place things that need to be done over those period of time, then you will see. Well, every time people always cite about what is it, Lee Kuan Yew, that is the same thing. There was a system that was put in place. It didn't matter who was in power. What was put in place was what was followed, and that's why we see Singapore is where it is today, because of that visionary leadership they had in Lee Kuan Yew. So
Thank you.
that's what we are lacking, and I'm in total agreement with you when you say we are lacking. Our biggest problem is leadership.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me bring in callers too. Let's hear from the callers what they think. Right? Let's see what the callers think. Let me start with callers. You have a minute each. Let's start with Mr. James Colley.
Yeah, Mr. John, thank you so much for welcoming me. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hello? Mr. John, I sat down listening carefully to all the panelists. It seems like everybody is trying to grapple with the idea why we are where we are right now and what is responsible. I like how you began the program. You mentioned root cause analysis. And this is exactly what we do in my field. I don't know the background of others, but like I always say, and I would say again, I have a background in computer science. So what I do know is systems. And Dennis, I know very well, if you have a background in computer science, you would know that. When we talk about system, one of the things that we have to really lay down and define and get away with this misunderstanding is to be actually able to define what kind of system we're talking about. Whether it's political system, social system, and really lay down, because it's so confusing when we talk about system, and it just confuses everybody. It says we have system. Now, in computer system, one of the things we have is called maintainability. I brought that up the last time to Dr. Pearson. The second thing we have is continuous monitoring. And I know Eastman, as being engineering, you understand that as well. When you build an electrical system, there's a tendency that something will burn out, something will, misbehave. There's this idea of continuous monitoring. The problem we have, I listened to Dr. Woody the other day talking about the Constitution. Everybody said the system we have, the system. When have you visited our system to see whether it's working? And further, I would tell you, with my background also in cyber, there's something we also think about. It's not what you build. What we say in cyber is it's impenetrable. Whatever you build, it's impenetrable. You can have all the creative ideas. You can build a computer that talks to God. But the question is it penetrable? And so this is where we are. So, Brother John, when you said root cause analysis, I was like, because through that, you're able to see critical path, you're able to see other things.
So in your view, what is wrong with Liberia and how can we move forward?
I think what is wrong with Liberia right now, and the question you asked is a research question, by the way. What is wrong with Liberia? That's a research question. I'm not going to attempt to answer it in 1 minute. But what I can say, like I said before, we need a case study. There are a lot of things wrong. Let me give you an example. The LEC system, they improved the system about meter system. But one of the things that they don't have is oversight whether the meter can be jumped. That meter can be jumped by thousands of people and they will not pay fees. And they will have continuous electricity. And then the LEC will come and say, we're not making money. But did they have any mechanism in place for that? I doubt it. Take, for instance, the data system we have in Liberia. How does that help anybody? You have students that can't research. And how do you even collect revenue from that? How do you collect revenue from scratch card? How do you collect revenue from somebody said, Dennis, please buy me minis? How do you collect revenue? How do you measure that? So we have a lot of systems that are not measurable.
Thank you.
And before you solve any problem, you have to define our problem. You have to make sure the problem is measurable. You have to scope it.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to.
And so talking about, I will just end up with this, Brother Dennis. Somebody said leadership. Leadership cannot work without system. In the U.S., here we have bad leaders. Donald Trump was not a politician, but because of the good system, he fit that in. George Bush, the last one was not a good, I don't want to say something, but he fit that into the system. Okay? Now, when you see President Touare in Burkina Faso, he's not a politician, but I follow him closely. Just the last few days, he bought 500 buses to be able to accommodate for students that don't have transportation to go to school and workers that don't have transportation to go to work. He had somebody who assumed his presidency and stayed being paid as a captain from the military. He refused to get a salary increase. The problem with Liberia, we're not going to build our system by the people who are there. People are not interested in building any system. And to build a system, it requires leadership, like somebody said.
Thank you.
Leadership on these issues.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to our next. Let me go to our next caller. That will be Hassan Kone. Hassan, you're live.
Yeah, Dennis, thanks for taking my call. Listen, the first caller, I mean, he just went all around it.
My man, leave the first caller. Tell your own.
I know, but yeah, let me say, right? The problem is we keep picking from the same pot, right? We got a bunch of people that grew up in that system, that been in that system, right? For, like I said, Joseph Vargas, for example, right? And we picked him out of the system. And now we go 2029, they're going to pick somebody else from in the same pot. And I said, if you take a bunch of prisoners that have been in prison for 30, 40 years, all they know is prison. All they know is how prison is run. They don't know nothing about the outside world, or they don't know how to run the outside world. Another example would be like, if you in first grade, you don't know what happened in 12th grade. You know that's 12th grade, but you don't know how 12th grade is run, or what happened, what's happening outside of your scope. And we keep picking out of that part. So the fact that we have somebody like, and I always bring it back to educated Liberians in the diaspora. I bring it back to the panelists again. The only thing, right? Somebody aren't here today, right? The fact that we have somebody like George, we have on the ticket, we have Blanca on the ticket, and you have well-educated Liberians. I know Mr. Gibbons not here to defend himself, right? Well-educated Liberians that knew these people track record, that know their resume, but still decide to mislead or educated people back home. Right?
Because Hassan, there are several factors they look at to point them in the direction of a leader, right? They look at, it's not education alone.
No, it can't just be education alone, but you look at the track record. Look at what they have done, even in and outside of government.
Yeah, some people want somebody who they swallow dumb boy with, that the person they want to be president.
So the problem is that the people, even though the people back home or the electorate back home, they don't know these things. We shouldn't be misleading and amplifying those things and saying, oh yeah, no.
And I don't think the people back home don't know these things. They know what they want.
No, I honestly think the woman I said Braga that did it. Right? She don't know Braga been in government for 40 years and have never really done nothing in government. Right? But because people run around saying we agree, everybody saying we agree. So Braga not did it. So So when you said when Yaga called about somebody said, oh, Braga take $50,000 to get, what did he take the money for? And then somebody said, but that's a loose stock. You know, that's what they call a loose stock. But the man a small child, right? That's the problem. So we need people. How do you come out on here justifying that? And he's an educated man. So until we realize that this thing that the country that we call Liberia, until we realize that we're all part of it and we want good for it, instead of manipulating and pulling strings here and try to like mislead people, we're never going to go forward. And the only way we can solve it is to find somebody like Cummings and elect them, because I don't think Cummings is going to be corrupt. I don't think he's going to declare his asset and then his cabinet wouldn't declare his asset and just go and just let it go and stuff like that. So those are the things you have to look at.
Thank you. I thought you were going to say me, then you say Cummings.
You're still going to be the superintendent. You're still going to get your superintendent.
Superintendent job say I can't get. You can't even recommend me. Then the president you recommend.
All right, Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Evan Morris. Your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. John, and hello to the panelists. And I must say, I admire you guys' continuous commitment to discuss Liberia. You know, it's great to see. Look, we shouldn't beat around the bush. Let's get to the main issue here. we are a reflection, or our leaders are a reflection of us and our decision making. The Liberian people, we in the diaspora would like to separate ourselves from them. And we think that we're smarter than them and have, if the diaspora were picking president, would pick the best qualified president and would pick the men who have all the experience, like my brother Hassan was saying. But we're only in this country because we're only in this position because we came to this country. We're living a system that, that's working, actually working. Education, information. We live in the system, so we feel like we know better. And we think we know better. But the people in Liberia, they pick the leaders based on what they think is a good leader. And that tells you everything you need to know about the mindset of the Liberian people that live in Liberia. So when I say this, sometimes people get mad at me. We're not smart enough. In Liberia, we're not smart enough. Alex Cummings came to say something, you keep doing the same thing again, and Senator, no. Keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different result is stupidity. That's really what it is. It's idiocy. It's somebody who can see a pattern and understand that this is not working. Let me try a different trajectory. In Liberia, we refuse to see the pattern. We're not even looking for a pattern. And it shows you that that person is not smart. That's a stupid person. So I hate to say it, but we have a stupid country where people make the wrong decision over and over and over again. And you can't knock enough sense into their head to tell them, stop doing this thing. It's not working. Try a different rules, like a person butting their head into a brick wall. So this is who we are. You go to other countries, they're making progress. They have better leaders. They look at the Arabs. People will say, oh, the Arabs are smarter than us. Yes, they are. They figure out how to govern themselves. They figure out how to develop the country. We haven't figured out how to do it. They're smarter than us. So this idea that we like to think to ourselves, oh, the next men are better than us. No. People show that they're better than you based on what they can achieve and what you can't achieve. That's what we lack in our country. We're not moving, we're not progressing because we don't have the mentality and we don't have the capacity to be better and to do better. That's the real truth. We shouldn't beat around the bush. Let's just get to that fact. But thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Elvis. Those are all the calls we have for now. Let me send it back to you. Mr. Dukley, you heard the callers. You want to chime in for a minute?
Yeah, I think the callers are not any different from exactly what we're discussing here, Dennis. I think the first caller made a reference to something I think is right on point. We talk about system. I think it would be helpful when we distinguish the system we're talking about, our political system and our governance system and all that. I think our political system as it is right now is not working. And I think it would have been helpful had we charted a different course when the war ended. Again, I come back to what I said earlier, where we needed to start everything from almost from scratch, so that we can avoid some of these pitfalls that we are now experiencing. Because it's almost like what we are seeing right now is the continuation of what started from Ellen's time. People have now come to accept the fact that there's no consequence to corruption. There's no consequence. I mean, the level of impunity, the way we have come to normalize impunity, is really dragging us down. And I always say to myself, this republic that we are talking about is almost 180 years old. And the last time I checked, the literacy rate in Liberia was 48%. And I compared that to Ghana. Ghana is at 80%. And that really troubled me. I was very bothered by that. So I was thinking, what is it that the Ghanaian did right to be at 80% in 2024 and Liberia is at 48%? The simple answer is leadership and governance. The foundation that was laid out by Kwame Nkrumah is what the current government is still making use of. They are building on that because the foundation there was solid and they built on it. But I mean, look at us. After 100 and some more years, I think one of the the decision that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took before her term ended was to outsource Liberian school system to some I don't know, organization from where it was. I was saying to myself, really? After all these years, this is what they come up to, especially the post-war Liberia. So it was just one bad decision after one bad decision, and today we are living the same experience. You know, again, let's hope we can get the leader who is going to be a visionary leader, a leader who is going to be thinking about transforming Liberia, not leaders that are going to be. Are you muted, Dennis?
What does it take to do that? What does it take to get that leader?
It take an individual who is patriotic, an individual who is willing to sacrifice for Liberia.
But that individual must be picked. So what will it take for us to pick that individual? Because you can make yourself available, doesn't mean they will vote for you. So you see the question, maybe Anthony been talking leadership. Anthony, how do we pick this leader? Will he come from nowhere or riding on a horse?
Unless we have a democracy, and so the people, we have to pick the leader.
Exactly.
And we know that
will they ever pick me?
The process that we always have are never good enough, and the few good ones that can be among them, the people can say we don't know them. And, you know, so until the people can have a change of mind that maybe it's about time we try somebody we don't know, for we have tried so many people we know, and our conditions have not changed, maybe we'll go somewhere, because I know many people felt that
Gonglo going through, I think Grand Jada, like it was through Ghost Town, I think, or Nimba.
Yeah, you know, so
people in the market, like, did I even see him? I see you, sir.
Yeah, Dennis, that is
so you keep talking leadership. So how will this leader come?
Then I just explained to you, it has to be through election. The people have to decide. But I've also said to you that, unfortunately, the people will always pick somebody they say they know. They said to us the new year, they said the new Ellen. Now we can also say I think they said they know Mr. Boaka. I don't know how well they knew him and now they pick him.
No, they said we're sorry, Papa.
And, you know, so
how do we get out of that quagmire if they will always pick, you know, people they know? So it's not about. So this whole idea
I said to you that they have to try something new. They have to forget about the people they know, for we have tried, or they have tried people they know many times, and their conditions have not changed. So they should now say, well, we've tried a few people that we thought we knew, and nothing changed. So let's try somebody, or we don't know. Maybe they can try me. Maybe they can try you, you know. Maybe they can try others that the thing that they don't know.
I don't think Dr. Piercy agreed with you, because he said, don't blame the voters. So how do we get this kind of leader? You are supporting Mr. Cummings. How can Liberians get the kind of leader that Liberia wants if you think that the leadership will make the difference, Mr. Piercy?
You know, you just giving Anthony, Mr. C, hard time for nothing. The great United States of America, one of the mothers of democracy in our global community, just voted a felon as president of the free world. Is he the best candidate America can offer? No. But that's how democracy works. People go to the poll and the campaign on promises, and when people are convinced about what they are selling, they will buy them. And if they buy them, it's left with the candidate to either live up to that expectation or not. President Donald Trump just told me, President-elect Donald Trump just told me that when they asked him, are you going to bring price of commodity down? He said, well, I don't have power over that one. But one of the campaign messages he preached, that the basic commodity price will come down. They asked him after the election, he said he didn't have control over that one. You know, so that's politics. So the only thing I can say right now, Mr. Dennis, is that we can only talk to our people like we did this going elections. We can only point them to candidates that we feel are competent to lead our country, like Alexander Benedict Cummings.
And why they didn't listen to you?
Ethnic politics.
And you think they made a bad choice?
Election violence, like we saw in Lofa County today, President Boaka refused to investigate that and prosecute those who killed people in local country, especially in his own hometown for you. You know, and so we saw General Bud Naked coming on.
So how do we get the leader? How does the country get the leader, the kind of leader we want now?
Huh?
So how do we get that leader, that ideal leader?
Dennis, you're asking a question for soothsayer. I'm not a soothsayer.
Okay, so we leave our own with
and the
God.
best I can say right now is that democracy, the beauty of democracy is that we can only sell what we have as a product, and the buyers will buy if they want to buy. If they choose to buy,
who or what is responsible for that? Who or what is responsible?
Dennis, poverty in Liberia, in my own home country, poverty. I just told you earlier today.
There were poor people in South Africa that still voted the ANC.
When you see people accepting $10, $25 to get trucked from one community to another to vote for
Mr.
people.
Pearson, Dr. Pearson, if poverty in South Africa they still voted the ANC, you think they were rich?
All right, so you want to compare South Africa to Liberia? They're comparing apple to oranges. The factors that drove the South Africans to the polls to vote for Nelson Mandela is far different from what happened in Liberia. Nelson Mandela has stood for the liberation of the people of South Africa from apartheid. He was the hero of South Africa. So the overwhelmingly
it's beyond poverty.
No, it was not an issue of poverty. It was an issue of solidarity with a cause. And right now, the cause that brought President Bokar to power was uncle and nephew.
Right.
And Nima solidarity. It was pure ethnicity.
You said that people are voting because of poverty. Okay, let me go to Jimmy. I don't think you get answer for me.
No, I don't have. I'm not a soothsayer.
Okay.
Jimmy.
Yes.
Jimmy, this whole leadership question, how do we get that leader, that we're talking about? I mean, you got to go through the elections.
The first thing is to identify the human nature. We all have our, what would they call, cognitive biases. There's certain things we favor, and it could be because of our upbringing. It could be because of our education. It could be because of our social group. It could be because of something we perceive. There's one bias they call the Dunning-Kruger effect. And this is because we don't have enough knowledge about something. So we have an inherent bias because we don't know nothing about it. So until we are able to realize that we have an inherent bias, and for us to make a good decision, we will have to sometimes overcome that bias or evaluate that bias before making a decision. And that is why education and exposure is so important, because you have to tell people, look, yes, you like this man. He's from your village. He's from your area. And he has all these cultural things that you identify with. But does he know how to make a good decision about education? Does he know how to make a good decision about entering a deal with another country? Does he know, or does she know? So it's going to have to require that we wake up and evaluate our judgment, because only then we'll be able to overcome the inherent bias that we all have and make a more solid decision. But this can be taught. You can talk to people. There could be a campaign telling Liberians, yes, just what I said. You know this man a long time from the same village. Y'all in the same class. Y'all in the same school. But does he know about making decisions that will affect your health tomorrow? Those are the questions you have to ask. And that is when we start being critical thinking like Anthony Sear, that is when we will overcome it. Not until then.
Thank you. And while we're talking about that, I got this someone sent me this. He said to pick that leader is for us to establish a movement that will lead a new national consciousness building efforts, and it was done in the Moja progressive era. It requires a concerted and sustained effort. He said it require a concerted and sustained effort, not election if politics. That's for my man Rati. All right. Gentlemen, thank you for the discussion. I know it was kind of quick, and don't blame me for pushing you hard. This is what I do. Let me get your closing comment. I want 30 seconds each because we have a minute to close. Let me start with Mr. CA. 30 seconds. You're closing.
Dennis, to get out of this mess we in, we need leadership in our country, and not only for the presidency, for representatives, senators, ministers, community leaders. Whoever will have a leadership role to play in Liberia, that person must exhibit leadership to the true sense of leadership, and that is how we get out of this mess. And let me say this: we have the LRA. It's been over 7 years now. We're trying to raise the nation's budget to $1 billion. Think about that, Dennis. This is a whole country trying to raise $1 billion over 7 years now. I passed through there. I saw this a placard that they're trying to raise the budget to 7, and people are there. I'm like, what's wrong with these people? I know nothing about it. Kind of use technology, use internet. Let me give you an example. We have Lone Star. We have Lone Star. Lone Star is charging $2 on every mobile transaction. Any mobile transaction that goes on in Liberia, Lone Star will get $2. You can't escape it in Liberia. $2. So just at least, let's say 1 million transaction, Lone Star made $2 million immediately. It goes to their account right away. Our leaders can figure a way out how to pay taxes to generate $1 billion. I'll leave it.
Dr. Pearson, 30 seconds. You're closing.
Then is a good conversation tonight, and thanks to our viewers for their participation, especially Sam and others. Let me close by saying this: where Liberia has reached, the level of bad governance, failure to follow the rule of law, and disregard for the Constitution and the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia, what Liberia needs right now to foster any change is a strong opposition movement. A very strong opposition movement. I'm calling on my own stand-up bearer and political leader, Mr. Alexander Cummings, to step up his participation in Liberian politics. He shouldn't wait until last minute. Let him step it up right now. And I'm calling on all opposition leaders that, and I want to thank the councillor who is the Gonglo. He's doing extremely well, and I want others to join him. And let us, and besides those who've been given leadership role in the current government, political leaders like Appleton who going away as ambassador, but those who stay in the opposition, let them reinvigorate the opposition to hold the government feet to fire, so the arrogance that we are seeing in the face of blatant disregard for the rule of law and the Constitution will be stopped, and the Liberian people can be conscientized to make change happen by force.
Thank you, Mr. The ANC is writing one release every 3 months. If they keep to that pace in 6 months, you do the math. How many releases?
Then we're picking up speed.
Okay. They say no matter how blazing the fire is, the chameleon will always walk like king. The chameleon can rush. So when you can't burn the fire, the farm, no matter how you light that fire and the fire blazing,
Dennis, please look. We got a lot of writings out there. Not when the Cummings force soldiers are writing out there. We put pressure on institutions to act even currently. So don't only look for Cummings. Look how I saw
ANC. I saw the ANC and the release carried 2023. I don't know why you carrying out backward. Mr. Dukley, you're closing.
Yes. This is so sad. I was just talking to a friend of mine who was a professor at the university here with us. He was one of the election observers in Liberia in the last election, and he said to me, "Duke, you always talk about Liberia. But I was sad when I went to Liberia. I couldn't find Uber. There was no Uber in Monrovia, and I laughed. I said to him, did you notice also the internet and the currents, it was not too stable? So I just used it as an example. Well, there's Uber in Nigeria, there's Uber in Ghana, there's Uber in Ivory Coast. Almost all the countries surrounding us, they have Uber there. These are some of the things that bring about employment to the youth, to the disadvantaged people. I mean, I just hope that someone is listening somewhere, that they can get some wisdom to for once put Liberia first and not themselves.
Thank you. Jimmy?
I think it wasn't Mr. Clarence just now. He mentioned something. He mentioned how Lone Star and Orange making tons of money, millions and millions of dollars Liberian money, and that money is going out of the country.
Yes.
Every year. That money, that's what we call egress. It's leaving the country. Every single. But do you know we have the Liberia Telecommunication Corporation that could rival Lone Star or Orange? But you were asking, but why haven't we developed LTC to do it? Because they will put somebody who in charge of LTC who doesn't have the know-how to do it.
Yeah.
They just want a job.
Yeah.
And if you send somebody there to that man, say, my man, you need some trouble. Like the minister of telecom would say, my man, I'm sending you an expert. Maybe he can help you. They don't even want to see that expert because they believe that the expert will show their ignorance, expose their ignorance, and also they may be replaced. They don't look at their fellow Liberian as an asset, but as a threat. So as a result, the company doesn't go anywhere. They can't do anything, and the company doesn't go anywhere, and Liberia continues to lose millions and millions of dollars. We got to stop this thing. We have to stop it. When are you going to look at Liberians as an asset that we have to keep money in the country instead of letting foreigners take it? We got to change our attitude.
Yeah. Thank you. Our resident economist, Thomas Kane, he wrote something, and when I read through it, I said, why we, most of the time we always have square pegs in round holes. Why can you get an economist like Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we getting people who can do the job?
Who knows?
Thomas is not connected.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the show, and want to thank our viewers for watching. Now we're going to conclude with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." As we strive to move Liberia forward, let us not forget, man, it's the only country we have. And the war we ran away from and came to America, the war over, we should be back now. That hunger keeping us here. That money business keeping us here now. So let's do our very best to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Take care. God bless.
We are Liberians.